Welcome back, folks. Today we got another video for you on the 97 Tacoma. Manufacturer Autoacer reached out to me. They said, hey Troy, we need some videos done. So here we go. This video is going to be more of a how-to style, showing you how to install it. I think we got lower control arms, we got ball joints, tie rod ends, basically everything you'd need on a first-gen Tacoma. This is just kind of a how-to guide, so I can share some insights and tips to make it easier for you. We got lots of packing foam, that's good. This guy is blown, but that's not a huge issue. So this is what we got for the upper ball joints. They have a little protective shroud on the top. They are non-greasable, which I'm not super stoked about, but they do look like they're quite well made. We got bushings. So these will go in the upper control arm. They're pretty simple. You can press fit these. I usually drive stuff like this with a hammer, or you can use a press if you have one. Either method works. You can even use a big C-clamp. What else do we have? We got ball joint. These are like the classic culprit for when they wear out. You don't replace them, so it's important to keep up to date with yours. You can see all these parts are from Autoacer. I guess they've been a manufacturer for quite a long time. They've been doing wholesale parts, and they're just starting to get into the market for more DIYers or small shop, which is good. These look to be, you know, standard cast tie rod ends, nothing wrong there. I do say the castings are nice, they're well machined, or looks to be so far. Still in the plastic, but these are greasable, it looks like, so that's a big plus. And it's nice they include the cotter pins, which is sweet. And then we have these inner tie rod ends, and we got this big box, which is going to be, yeah, so these are the upper control arms. Here's what we got, and I do see bushings in already. Definitely everything looks like it's going to be a pretty good, straightforward installation. Everything arrived in good shape. Nothing's dent up, nicked, damaged, whatever. So that's awesome. All right, so this is like, sometimes these things, as you can see on this truck, they get really destroyed and beat up. It doesn't really matter so long as they seal, but it's not that hard to get them off without beating it all to shit. You just kind of come in with a screwdriver and tap until it comes loose. And you pry a bit. So you can tell if you go slow, it's not that bad. The issue is that on a lot of them, guys just get in there and they go ham, and so you can see this one's been like that. And you work it. There's a little lip that you just put your screwdriver in, and then once it gets more, you can start twisting, and there you go. Now you're into the end of the CV. You just got to take this cotter pin. I've reused this. A lot of people will tell you you're not supposed to do that. A lot of people will tell you they've done it and it's been fine. So use your judgment. This comes off. It's an indexing thing, so it locks this to a specific spot so this bolt can never back out. Axle nut is a 34 mil. This is a, I want to say 24 millimeter. It's usually not that tight. You can get it with just a hand wrench. Just give it something light. You don't have to go that hard. I just like to do it a couple times. Proper way to actually get it loose is to hit the side. Oh, I think we got it. Yeah, so that time it just kind of slowly popped out. This guy, I think, is a 19 millimeter. It has a cotter pin, so pull that out first. The next thing that we got to take out are these guys. Once those are loose, you got to take this out, which again, cotter pin, just to make sure they don't back out on you for whatever reason. What you can do if they get really stuck, put a screwdriver in them and then hammer the screwdriver. Oh, damn, that was a good one. Same thing when you get rid of this. You want to hit the side. I think this guy is a 22 millimeter. Break it loose with a hand wrench. What you want to do is take out this. It's a 19 millimeter bolt. Runs all the way across to this side. Got to get to the engine bay, reach kind of in this way. I get my hand in over the top. You just kind of pull the bolt. You take off your ball joint up here. To separate these, sometimes they'll be stuck in. You can hit lightly on the top of this if you have the nut a few twists down so you don't mess up the thread, or you can also hit the control arm. I usually find that works better. Even coming straight in from the side, it'll help break it loose. Be careful of your brake line. You don't want to destroy them, basically. So I like to take this guy off too. It's just a 12 mil. There's the sway bar links. You gotta pull those apart. I'm replacing mine, so I don't really have to care about the parts and where they go, but you know, for reference you will, so maybe take note of that, take a picture. What now? Well, I guess we can pull this right out. Then just lift it and push your axle out. Hang, it's nice and light. Now you can take your caliper off, set it somewhere it's not gonna fall. At that point, you're left with this. So we'll pull the upper ball joint out of that and press the new one in, but that's pretty much all that needs to do with that part. To remove this guy, all you gotta do is take this off, like so, and then to get this guy out, try and avoid doing that. About hitting the side, it helps really quite a bit. Like that. Sometimes, guys, you're gonna have to absolutely wail on that. This one I just replaced, so I knew I wasn't gonna have to hit it that hard. Pretty simple. It just goes. You can take a screwdriver even for the rest. Hit it with a hammer. Keeps everything moving nice. So you're down looking at the underside of the truck, trying to replace or remove this lower control arm. This is one of the harder parts of the project, not because it's complex, but because these bolts have a tendency to be basically welded on. These ones, I don't know if they've ever been touched in about 100,000 kilometers. Bear with me, folks. I don't know how this is going to work. These have the potential to just completely die, essentially. What I'm saying, more than likely I'm gonna have to torch the absolute shit out of them. But we're gonna try just by breaking it loose the old-fashioned way. So what you do is you slip a wrench in a wrench. You can tell I'm flexing these wrenches a lot. It's not ideal. That's a lot of force. And it's not budging. That is a really tight bolt. Yeah, I'm concerned. So I think it's coming out. Holy shit, it's coming out. You'll find that to get these bolts out, you'll have to take this boot off, which is fine because you're replacing the inner tie rod anyway. So you can either cut this or expand this however you see fit to remove it, but basically you have to remove it. So if you're gonna replace the inner tie rod, do know that you're going to have to take the boot off, and you probably will need to order one of these clamps because I haven't seen any kits that supply the boot and the clamps as well. They all just supply the inner tie rod. Keep that in mind, and yeah, pry this off. Then you can pull the boot off, pull the whole thing out, this bolt will come out nice and easy for you. Unfortunately, I didn't show you how I took this apart, but the way I do it is I put a tiny Robertson, like smaller than the normal one, put it right in here, and then just hit it with a hammer, and they usually pop right apart. Nice and simple. And then you can pull this forward, accessing the entire steering rack, giving you more clearance to get this bolt out and replace the inner tie rod, if that's what you're doing. So now, to get this guy out, we're gonna have to take out the bolts that hold the power steering rack in. Boom, boom. And there's also one on the other side. I don't think I have to take that one out. At that point, you should be able to get something in behind here. I think you can even slide this all the way out if you want to. And then you gotta do this guy as well. So this guy is held in with, so that was a 19 on the top for some reason. So now you got the power steering rack busted loose. You can move it. We're not gonna go all the way out because we don't actually have to, just to get this bolt up. The one that we were working on earlier. So move stuff around, and you see that required a lot of wiggling, but you can do it. We got some slight problems with these guys. They're not normally easy to get out. There's like a sleeve that goes through a bushing, and so a lot of times water gets in there and it rusts and it basically welds itself shut. What we're gonna do is just cut up on either side through the bolt and get new bolts. Once you get them cut, this literally just falls out. As you can tell, it's not easy to get them out. This one came out much better. This side you can tell I kind of had to get in there and kind of beat stuff up, which you don't want to do. Anyway, we're gonna get this cleaned up on the bench. So here you can see what we're going to be working on. We're going to do this bushing, this bushing. The one we torch, we can just pull it out. Then we're going to come inside of it with the Sawzall, cut it so that we can... You just want to cut the inside of it. Cut it, and then it becomes really easy to just roll and push kind of down the crack. Basically do that, chill it out. Do the same to the other side. When it comes time to remove the upper ball joint, gotta grab a pair of snap ring pliers, I guess, whatever they're called. Well, that was convenient. You can tell these are new, don't need to be replaced, but we're replacing them for the sake of the video. So we'll keep the parts separate. And to get this out, you can use a ball joint press. That works. I'm just going to hit the top with a hammer. Manual swing press. That's my chosen method because it doesn't require any special equipment. You don't have to use an anvil. Granted, that was a new one, so it's going to come out easier than yours probably will. And then when you're ready to take this out, you can just grip it with a crescent wrench or vice grips, and it just spins off. Compared to the other one, they do not give us the adjustment locking nut. So you see, we just took the old nut and threw it on there. So now we're going to take the boot. This doesn't come in the kit, but I decided to replace this as well. Just push it over and all the way to the front. Then thread the inner tie rod end onto the outer tie rod end a bit. Simple, it just screws right in, and just take your time tightening it in. So for the upper ball joint, you just want to push it up through here. It appears this boot is a little bit bigger than the standard size. That's kind of odd. Are these actually going to fit? Where's my original ball joint? So this is my original. This is the replacement. It should fit. Let me get some calipers and double check. Yep, it's the same. It's just this boot is gonna have to be pushed in a bit. Otherwise, if you just try and force it, it's gonna wanna pop. So let's see what we can do with this. Gently pushing it through, maybe. It's actually really kind of a silly thing to have to do. This is not a great design. So as you can see on these Autoacer parts, this boot is a little bit big. This might be revised for future models that they produce, because this is not a great way of doing it, obviously. But nonetheless, you can still get it in. You just have to make sure you don't damage the boot, or take the boot completely off, slide it on, and then do it. But I don't want to take the boot off, so I'm just going to gently push it through with a screwdriver. And then you can see when you get it partially the way through, it lines up nice and straight. Either doing this with clamps, you can clamp from here to here. You can use a puller type of thing. Again, I just use a hammer and tap it in. I just rest it like this on the side of an anvil. You could use like a vice anvil, whatever, and then just hit it. Doesn't take that much. Once you've got the old one out, the new one goes in. Much easier. It just snaps right into place like that. You might have to pull the boot off again to get that on. And then for this, I'm just gonna take a piece of copper wire, wrap it and twist it. Obviously, it'd be nice if this wouldn't have come off, but you know, sometimes that happens. This is not a very good design, admittedly. Most that I see on these ball joints, these style of ball joints, are like this, the smaller ones, so that you can just pass it through without running into this issue. However, that's now been replaced. We can move over to the vehicle. Put this in. You gotta put your sleeves through your bushings, and it's just a minor matter of lining it all up at this point. Throw your bolts back in, and then I'll show you the ball joint. Lower ball joint is super simple because you just take the lower ball joint and put it in. Then all you have to do, take this guy. Then we gotta throw in the upper control arm. And you can see it slid through all nice. Throw the washer on and torque that down to spec. After that's done, you can go ahead and reinstall the rest of the assembly. Lift it up and then just set it on the lower ball joint. You'll notice that it wants to kind of index because there are dowel pins, I guess. Line up our ball joint a bit. Slides into the control arm that way, like so. And that'll slide up in here. Give it some taps from the bottom. Don't forget your 4 lower ball joint bolts. These usually go in pretty easily. The only other thing I really need to cover, obviously you have to put your caliper back on, but again, that's 2 bolts, so I'm confident you guys can handle that, is the axle kind of hub reassembly area, 150 pound-feet or whatever. Then you line this up. You can tell that won't work. That looks like it's a pretty good spot. And so you line it up to where it lines up with the holes in the castle nut, and then you throw that guy down, and that'll prevent vibration from loosening, backing out, whatever. It's about time I redo my tire alignment, so it's pretty inexpensive if you want to take it to a shop. And honestly, because of how these seize in so much, I'd probably recommend you take it to a shop for that, so they have to deal with the bolts rusting and, you know, they can't get them out. Because if you do it yourself, it's just a massive pain in the ass. And it's really out of the scope of most DIYers, what they're willing to do in their garage. So I think that pretty much covers it. That's the entire install of the Autoacer suspension arm, upper control arm kit. You can see like they're nice, they fit in just fine, everything bolts up nice and squarely. That's pretty much everything I used. Oh, plus a Sawzall, plus a Sawzall. As far as recommendations are concerned, in terms of build quality, the kit looks good. I don't have any concerns about that. The only issues we ran into was this boot is bigger than the opening it has to be pushed through. So that caused some issues getting this on without breaking the boot clamps. Normally they're like this so that it can slide through this metal casting without any sort of impedance, but this one wasn't like that. Not including this nut. Again, not a huge problem, but on a kit that includes pretty much everything, I would expect it to have this nut on it. Again, easy workaround, so it's not a big deal that it didn't have it. I would replace the boots as well. Good looking kits, good looking parts. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one.